Rising out of the undulating plains of southern Africa, they seem almost alien. Massive, sweeping curves of granite, walls over 30 feet high, 11 feet thick. There is no mortar holding them together, no cement, just millions of stone blocks cut with precision and stacked with a genius that defies gravity. When European explorers first stumbled upon them in the late 1800s, they were dumbfounded. Their worldview could not accept that the local African people could build something so grand. So, they invented lies. They said it was the work of Phoenicians, or the Queen of Sheba, or King Solomon's mines. They were wrong. This is the story of Great Zimbabwe, the stone heart of an African empire. Great Zimbabwe isn't just a ruin. It was a sprawling metropolis. Between the 12th and 15th centuries AD, this was the largest city in southern Africa. At its peak, it was home to nearly 20,000 people, a population comparable to London at the same time. The name itself speaks to its power. In the Shona language, Zimbabwe means houses of stone, or venerated houses. It was the capital of a vast kingdom that stretched across modern-day Zimbabwe and into Mozambique and Botswana. While Europe was building wooden castles that would eventually rot, the Shona masters were building for eternity. They created the largest ancient stone construction south of the Egyptian pyramids. Great Zimbabwe did not appear out of nowhere. Just as Rome built upon Greece, Great Zimbabwe was a spiritual and cultural successor to the kingdom of Mapungubwe, which we discussed in the last story. When Mapungubwe declined around 1290 AD due to climate shifts, the center of power migrated north. The rulers of Great Zimbabwe took the concepts of sacred leadership and stone construction and supercharged them. Their power was built on a trinity of wealth. First, cattle. In Shona society, cattle were not just food. They were currency, status, and power. Second, gold. They controlled the mines that supplied the Swahili coast. And third, global trade. Archaeologists have dug up Persian pottery, Arabian glass, and Chinese Ming porcelain within these walls. This was a cosmopolitan hub connected to the wider world. But the true marvel of Great Zimbabwe is the engineering. The city is divided into two main areas: the hill complex, the spiritual fortress of the king, and the massive structure in the valley known as the Great Enclosure. The technique used here is called dry stone architecture. The builders didn't use chisels to quarry the granite. They used nature. They would light massive fires on the large granite domes that dot the landscape, heating the rock. Then, they would douse it with cold water. Crack! The thermal shock would split the granite into uniform sheets, which could then be broken into brick-sized blocks. Millions of them. The Great Enclosure is a masterpiece. Its outer wall is an elliptical curve over 800 feet long. Inside stands a mysterious conical tower, a solid stone silo 30 feet high. Its purpose remains debated. Perhaps a symbolic grain bin representing the king's provision, or a phallic symbol of fertility. It is architecture meant to awe, to intimidate, and to declare absolute power. For centuries, Great Zimbabwe stood silent. Then, the colonizers arrived. When white settlers and explorers like Karl Marx saw the ruins in the late 19th century, they were terrified by what it implied. If black Africans built this magnificent city, the entire justification for colonialism, that Africa was uncivilized and needed European rule, was a lie. So, a deliberate campaign of disinformation began. The colonial government of Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, actively censored archaeologists. Any scientist who claimed the site was built by indigenous Africans was fired or deported. Official guidebooks stated that the builders were a civilized race of uncertain origin. Even worse, treasure hunters like Richard Hall were hired to clear the site. In their hunt for gold and evidence of white builders, they recklessly dug through layers of history, destroying priceless archaeological context forever. It was cultural vandalism on an industrial scale, driven by racism. But the truth, forged in granite, could not be buried. In 1929, a brilliant female archaeologist named Caton-Thompson led an expedition that rigorously proved, once and for all, that Great Zimbabwe was built by the ancestors of the Shona people. The most powerful symbols found at the site were 8 soapstone birds, carved atop columns. The Zimbabwe birds. They represent royal ancestors, mediating between the living and God. Cecil Rhodes stole several of them. They became captives in foreign museums. But in 1980, when the nation finally wanted independence from colonial rule, they needed a new name. They didn't choose the name of a leader or a river. They chose the stones. They named their country Zimbabwe. And the soapstone bird, once stolen and denied, now sits proudly on the national flag. Great Zimbabwe stands today as more than just a tourist destination. It is a site of conscience. It is a reminder of human ingenuity, capable of flourishing anywhere. But it is also a reminder of how easily history can be twisted to serve power. The empires of gold have faded. The colonial regimes have fallen, but the walls remain. They are the silent, unbreakable witnesses to the truth of Africa's greatness.